Joran Van Der Sloot, the suspect in the 2005 disappearance of American teen Natalee Holloway, will be extradited to the United States from Peru. Holloway vanished on May 30, 2005, while on a high school class trip to Aruba. Yesterday, the president of Peru, Dina Boluarte, signed an order directing the Peruvian government to extradite the now 35-year-old Joran Van Der Sloot to the United States to face charges. Van Der Sloot is currently serving a 28-year prison sentence in Peru. He pleaded guilty to strangling and beating to death then 21-year-old Stephanie Flores. Like Natalee Holloway, Flores met Van Der Sloot in a casino. Natalee Holloway in Aruba, Stephanie in Lima, Peru. Van Der Sloot murdered Flores on May 30th, 2010, in a hotel room in Lima. On that exact date, but 5 years earlier, Natalee Holloway was last seen with Van Der Sloot. Holloway was last seen walking out of a bar in Aruba, Carlos and Charlie's, and getting into the silver Honda owned by Deepak Kaupo. As the car drove away, Natalee was last seen waving to her friends. So the next step? The FBI will now go to Peru and pick up Van Der Sloot. He will be flown to Alabama, where he will then answer to a 2-count 2010 federal indictment. Count 1, extortion of Natalee Holloway's mother, Beth Holloway. The indictment reads, in part, that Van Der Sloot would not disclose to Beth Holloway that Van Der Sloot would not disclose to Beth Holloway through her attorney the location of Natalee's remains and the circumstances of her death without first receiving an initial payment of $25,000, and upon positive identification of the remains, a further payment of $225,000. That was count 1, that's extortion. The penalty for extortion is up to 20 years. Count 2, wire fraud. The penalty for wire fraud, also up to 20 years. If convicted of both, and if the judge is sentencing Van Der Sloot to the maximum, and if ordered the 2 sentences to be served consecutive, Van Der Sloot could serve 40 years in a U.S. federal prison. That is 12 more years that Van Der Sloot was ordered to serve for strangling and beating 21-year-old Stephanie Flores to death. Gray Analytics Vice President, General Counsel, and former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, Jay Town, joins me. And Jay, you bring a particular familiarity for this because you were the U.S. Attorney in this particular district, but this indictment was delivered by a grand jury prior to your service as U.S. Attorney. Is that right?
It was, but I remember this case well. I was a state prosecutor in the state of Alabama in 2005, and really the whole nation was captivated by this case because it's the worst nightmare of any parent. And really, what we learned yesterday, that you broke this news on Newsmax air during your show, really gives hope to every crime victim's family member, that whether it's 18 days or 18 years, justice can still be done. And that's, I think we should all exhale just a bit and be proud of the efforts of people like you, like Beth Holloway, for continuing to press to bring justice to Joran Van Der Sloot.
I almost feel silly telling the viewers she disappeared because I have spoken to people, and I've been doing this investigation for 18 years alongside Beth. I have spoken to people that were there and saw Joran Van Der Sloot kill her. It is not a secret. Yet I say disappear. She was murdered by him, and I also know, and I've had a lot of witnesses tell me that Van Der Sloot's father, Paulus Van Der Sloot, who was a judge in training, which I've never yet been able to figure out, said, "No body, no murder." There is so much more to this, and it has just been a disgrace that this mother has had to go through this for the last 18 years. But we use the word disappear, but she was murdered. I'll go out on, I know that, and so I'll say murdered. And now at least this is a chance of, we'll have a jury. A jury will say whether he extorted and committed wire fraud, and then the judge will make a decision on sentence if convicted.
Well, and look, he's doing a 28-year sentence in Peru. I don't think a jury is going to decide that he didn't extort Beth Holloway and that he didn't commit wire fraud. And so he's going to get some period of time here in the United States. So he'll finish his sentence in Peru. He'll come back and spend time in American prison. And then he still has hell to look forward to, Greta.
Yeah, it really is. You say that it's a parent's worst nightmare. We rarely hear from. There's another child involved here, and that's Beth has another child, Matt, who was about 15 when his sister disappeared, and he really says something. He just recently wrote a statement yesterday. He was 15 at the time of the disappearance, and right now he's all grown up. He's a professional pilot. He's a captain with the commercial airliners, and he misses his sister every single day. But he issued this statement. He says, in quote, I want to thank you and all the other media outlets for their continued support in keeping up with the current events regarding my sister, Natalee. I have to give thanks first to Mrs. Greta Van Susteren for her tireless work. And in this case, she's gone above and beyond what anyone could have ever asked for. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Peruvian government and their president for allowing this extradition. I'd also like to thank the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office, along with Attorney John Kelly, who've been working hard to bring justice. Justice for Natalee. I look forward to seeing Joran face arraignment at the federal courthouse in Birmingham, Alabama. You know, Jay, the hero in this case, I have to tell you, is the Peruvian government. You know, the fact that they are extraditing, and they're actually doing something called a loan. It's not really an extradition, but they, you know, with a commitment that, you know, there would be justice here in the United States. You know, I tip my hat to the Peruvian government and to the Peruvian president for doing this, because this is perhaps not a big item on their plate, but it is for us.
Yeah, and you know, look, there's been a change, you know, a sea change in government in Peru, and that has helped a great deal. It's good to not have corrupt politicians in charge of a country, and so that has been helpful. But again, just to hear you read that letter, and I wasn't aware of it till you read it on air, it gave me chills, because again, I do think this is a very hopeful moment for family members of crime victims. That perseverance does pay off, and you know, people like you and the Holloway family, you're literally the poster children now for that hope that families can hang on to, that justice will be done for their loved ones, for their lost loved ones.
Well, this is just a tease. There's a lot more to come on this, a much expanding story, but a very special, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I thank Peru for doing this to help this family. J-Town, thank you.
Thank you, Greta.